Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going? Looks like the stream is just going to be getting started here. I want to say good morning to everybody. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I'm going to be posting the link to my chat here, or to the excuse me, in the chat to my rankings for you guys. So welcome again to everybody who has stopped by before, and welcome to everybody who's new as well. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the quick stream that we're going to do this morning. We're going to start the show off here in just a few moments here. I'm going to be answering your guys' start-sit questions. I posted my link to my rankings there. There you have kind of a quick rundown of where I currently have the players. I think I still have Anquan Boldin in there, which obviously Anquan Boldin has been listed as inactive here for Week 8. So we do want to probably take him out of the rankings, maybe move up a couple of guys. I'm not really thinking that I'm probably going to do anything as far as changing much in terms of the 49ers based on Anquan being inactive. I think he kind of remains the guy there when he's healthy, and I'm not really sure who is the guy when he's not there. Maybe you move up some of the other guys in the receiving game just a little bit, but I think the guy who might get helped most by Anquan Boldin actually being active might be Reggie Bush. You might see him touch the ball more. I'm not expecting him to get a ton of carries today, but I do expect him to touch the ball quite a bit this afternoon, so hopefully Reggie will be in some of your lineups. This is a tough matchup, obviously, for the 49ers. The Rams defense is very good, so be careful with them, anybody who you play, but also understand, too, that even in games where your team doesn't win, you can still have some good fantasy production, especially from guys like your pass-catching players. Typically, your run-first running backs, like, for example, if the Patriots were to fall behind heavily in a game, LeGarrette Blount's value is not going to be very good, whereas a guy like Reggie Bush could still catch passes out of the backfield. If the 49ers, let's say, fall behind 10 points in the first half, and then they're down 14, 17 points in the second half, you can still see Reggie Bush being out there on the field most likely, and he could be out there catching 4 or 5 passes in the second half alone. So that would make him pretty valuable in a PPR league. But again, it's a big risk because they might be just bad enough on offense today that they don't move the ball hardly at all. So, you got to kind of balance that out just a little bit. With Anquan Boldin not being there, it does hurt them in terms of their offense as a whole. Their scoring potential does go down, so that's going to hurt, obviously, Kaepernick. I don't think many people are probably starting Kaepernick at this point, and good for you if you're not. He is not worth starting right now. I'm just gonna link out my cheat sheet there on Twitter as well for you guys if you're interested in taking a look at it. Thank you guys again for stopping by. I will be answering your guys' live questions here in just a moment, but we want to get a few people in here first. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start things off with a question here that I've been seeing a lot of, which is what you should do with Antonio Gates today. And Gates is kind of a tough one because he's a guy who is a stud when he's healthy. There's no doubt about it. But we're starting to see questions. Should I start Gate or Greg Olsen for my starting tight ends? This is from Brandon Voorhis in the chat. My personal opinion is that you go with Greg Olsen. We don't know how healthy Antonio Gates is, and even when he is 100% healthy, I don't think he's like an additional step forward above Greg Olsen. I think they're pretty close to the same type of player, so I'm not like a huge fan of benching Greg Olsen just for the chance that your Antonio Gates goes out and has a big game. So yeah, I'm probably going to stick with Greg Olsen in that one. So hopefully that'll help you out. Who's my favorite QB? I don't know what your question is there. If you're asking for my favorite NFL quarterback, that would be Tom Brady. My favorite fantasy quarterback for this week, the number one guy that I have ranked this week is Phillip Rivers. I think he's going to have a monster game today. I mean, you could see them throw the ball 50 times today. And if they do that against that Baltimore secondary, you're going to see Phillip Rivers have a monster fantasy day. Let's see here. Jimmy Timmy or Timmy Jimmy? I don't know what the hell that means. Let's see here. I have a spot to start Ladarius Green, or do I stick with him? have a spot start, Ladarius Green. Do I stick with him? I don't know what you're asking there, N Parrots. I'd have to know who your other options were. I still think Ladarius Green could have a decent day, but I'm still not overly excited about him, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see here. What else do we got? Stevie Johnson or Amari Cooper? That's a good one because Amari Cooper is probably going to be shadowed today by Darrelle Revis. So I think, you're probably ranking them a lot closer than you normally would. But in this case, I'm still probably going to go with Amari Cooper. I just think Amari Cooper is the more talented player. So I think you got to go with him. I know it's a great matchup, like I just mentioned, for Stevie Johnson. But Amari Cooper, I still think, is the guy you got to go with there. Ted Ginn or Eric Decker? We're definitely going Eric Decker. Decker has been really, really good, like underrated good, to be completely honest with you. I have him ranked 17th this week against the Raiders. I think he could have a nice game. Ted Ginn, I'm not a huge Ted Ginn fan. I've got him ranked 40th in comparison. Phillip Rivers or Big Ben? Like I said, Phillip Rivers is my #1 quarterback for this week, so I'm going with him. Keep or trade Eddie Lacy? That's a good question. It always depends on what you can get for Eddie Lacy. If he has a nice game this week, then you might be able to trade him for something decent. It's really tough to say right now. My opinion is right now, if you sell on Eddie Lacy, you're not getting anything really valuable in return. So I kind of think you kind of have to hold on to him. I just don't. I think you'd be getting like low end RB2 value for Eddie Lacy, and I would rather keep Eddie Lacy because I think that his upside is way better than that. And I just don't think it's unless you're in a situation, let's say you're 2-5 or something like that, then you got to sell it now. You got to try and you have to get some wins right now. You can't wait for Eddie Lacy to turn it around. So I guess it kind of depends on where your team is currently situated, but I would probably end up holding on to Eddie Lacy in most cases. Let's see here. What else do we got? Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers today? This is a really good question. I think a lot of people are in similar situations to this where they've got another good option and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in a really, really tough matchup this week. I have him still ranked 3rd, though, at quarterback. And that's just my confidence in Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. We don't see him put up dud games very often. Even against good defenses, he can go out there and throw for 2 touchdowns and 250 yards. And if he rushes for 20 yards like he's very capable of doing, that's a solid fantasy day. I think his floor is very, very high, and that's something that you just can't overlook. Cam Newton's been great this year, and I wouldn't be like upset if you played Cam Newton over Aaron Rodgers. I would understand. It's just, to me, you've got Aaron Rodgers on your team. You got to roll him out there, man. You have to roll him out there as long as he's healthy. So that's the way that I'm looking at it. Let's see here. Should I start Ladarius Green or Antonio Gates even though he's hurt? That's a good question. I think I'm still going to go with Antonio Gates because I think his upside is higher than Ladarius Green's. As long as Gates is healthy, I think he is the guy there in the passing game, behind Keenan Allen, obviously, but I still think Antonio Gates is the way that I would go there. Kyle had that same question as well. Yeah, a lot of people I think are in the Ladarius Green, Antonio Gates situation. It's a tough one. I'm glad that you have both of them because you've kind of almost handcuffed your tight end, I guess you could say. So yeah, I would go with Antonio Gates though. As long as he's healthy, you got to put him out there. Let's see here. Lacy or Starks? I'm going to go with Lacy because Starks has been not healthy this week. It sounds like he's going to play, but at the same time, we don't know how much he's going to play. And even when he does play, he's still, other than this past week, been the backup. So I think you got to go with Lacy. It's not a great situation, Justin, but I still think I would probably go with Eddie Lacy. Tyler Eifert or Amari Cooper in the flex. Now, this is actually really close because other than Gronkowski, I actually have Tyler Eifert ranked #1 at tight end coming into this week. So I think I'm probably going to go with Tyler Eifert, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, Amari Cooper's been really good, but I don't like the Darrelle Revis matchup. I'm a little bit concerned about that. So yeah, I'm probably going to go with Tyler Eifert. Unless you're in a league that like rewards long touchdowns or something like that, then you might be able to make a case for going with Cooper. Keeping up here, John Brown or Mike Evans. Evans, I think Evans is healthy, and he's the only guy in that passing game right now, so he should get targeted a ton today. They're going to see him a lot. They're going to be following him a lot on the defense, but I still like Mike Evans. The talent's there. He's put up some good games, and there's no reason to bench him at this point. John Brown not healthy. I love John Brown as a player, but I'm benching him in quite a few leagues this week. Might come back to bite me, but I don't like it when like speed guys like John Brown are having a lower leg injury. It's just not a good situation typically. Let's see here. Should I trade Antonio Brown, Todd Gurley, and Travis Benjamin? Should I trade Antonio Brown, Todd Gurley, and Travis Benjamin for Chris Ivory and Julio Jones? No, do not do that. Gurley is arguably the number 1 or number 2, maybe number 3 running back for the remainder of the year. And Antonio Brown's a stud wide receiver, and you're throwing in Travis Benjamin for a downgrade at running back and about an equal wide receiver. No, I'm sticking with the guys that I've got. Should I put in Diggs or Marvin Jones? I'm assuming you're saying Marvin Jones. So yeah, we're gonna go with Diggs. Peyton finally going to get it going against the Pack tonight. I doubt it, unfortunately. I hope he does, but I doubt it. Brandon Cooks or A.J. Green? A.J. Green, definitely. A.J. Green is, it's not the world's best matchup against Pittsburgh, but it's one that he's capable of exploiting. I think a lot of people don't actually realize this about A.J. Green, but if you look at the course of his career, he's actually substantially better on the road than he is at home. Really weird type of thing. There aren't many players that have that kind of a road-home split in favor of road. So, yeah, I like Antonio Gates even better when he's on the road. A.J. Green even better when he's on the road. I'm going to try and keep rolling through these fairly quickly if I can because they're starting to come in fast and furious. Guys, if you can, just put the question once. I will try to answer it. If you put it more than once, it slows everything down because I have to try and read through it multiple times. Continuing on, I have 4 great running backs: Marshawn Lynch, Chris Ivory, Justin Forsett, and Todd Gurley. Who are the 3 I should start? Great question. Number 1, I think that you probably want to trade one of those guys away to get a wide receiver in the future. But for right now, for this week, I think you got to go with Gurley. I think he's arguably the number 1 running back in fantasy this week. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Marshawn Lynch, I think, is probably my number 2 guy on that list. And then it's a toss-up between Forsett and Ivory. Oh, man. I have them back-to-back, man. I have them ranked back-to-back. In a standard, I'm probably going to go with Ivory. In a PPR, I'd go with Forsett, if that helps you out. So, yeah, they're very close to one another, though. Ronnie Hillman or CJ2K? Definitely CJ2K. Much better matchup, and he's been rolling, man. He's been rolling. Decker, John Brown, Jonathan Stewart at flex in a half PPR league. Good question. I'm going to roll Decker in that one. McCluster or Gordon in a standard? Oof. That's a tough one, man. McCluster's a lot better in a PPR, so and Gordon, I still think that there's some value to be had with Melvin Gordon. I'm not giving up on him yet, man. I'm not giving up on him, so we're going to go with Melvin Gordon. Should I play Dez over Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver 2 or over Woodhead at flex? I say no to either of those. Emmanuel Sanders is a stud. Danny Woodhead's been a stud as well, especially in a PPR. I'm sticking with both those guys. McFadden or Lacey? I'm going to go with McFadden, man. I think you look at Darren McFadden's situation right now, and it looks like he's going to be the starting running back. Joseph Randle's out of the equation right now. He's not going to be active. It doesn't even sound like. So yeah, we're going away from the Cowboys as much as we can, but Darren McFadden's maybe the guy that we put in our lineup this week. Should we start Gary Barnidge or Jimmy Graham? Isn't it funny that it's come to that with Jimmy Graham? And yes, I am going to go with Gary Barnidge. I know that Arizona's number 1 against the tight end this year so far, but I think Gary Barnidge has been getting it done, and he is the red zone target there in Cleveland. So with Josh McCown ready to roll, and he's been looking to Gary Barnidge, I think that Barnidge is the guy you want to go with there. What about Seattle's? I'm assuming you're saying you said seatless, but Seattle's wide receivers this week. That's a good question. I don't really love any of them any week, and the problem with it is because there isn't enough passing downs in Seattle for anybody to be a consistent target there, even Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's probably the number 1 guy out of that group that you would be looking at, but as far as the actual wide receivers go, it's a complete crapshoot on a week-to-week basis. Doug Baldwin's probably the most consistent guy if you were looking for somebody, but again, it could just be a complete trash fest. All of them could get no catches pretty much. I try to stay away from Seattle's wide receivers as much as I can because they pass the ball so little there in Seattle, and they always have. And with Russell Wilson just not being an elite passer, I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback in terms of like leadership and all that kind of thing, but he's not an elite pure passer right now at this point in his career. He just doesn't have the ability to create a wide receiver one. So I stay away from Seattle's receivers as much as I can. Gary Barnidge or Tyler Eifert? Again, Tyler Eifert's my number one tight end. I like Barnidge, but we're going with Eifert. Thoughts on Alfred Blue? I think he'll be the guy there with Arian Foster out, but I'm not sure what that really means. I'm not sure that means he's going to be even an RB2 in terms of fantasy, so I'm trying to stay away from that situation as much as I can. That offense is not very good. Pretty much the only guy that I'm interested in there is DeAndre Hopkins, to be honest with you. Everybody else I'm really not too excited about. You could potentially roll out one of the quarterbacks, whoever's starting on the week-to-week basis, depending on matchup, but yeah, I'm not huge on the running game at all. Barnidge or Bennett? I've gotten asked this a few different times. My wife actually has this same exact question. She's going with Barnidge. I told her to go with Bennett, but it's just a complete crapshoot, man. Martellus Bennett's my number 3 tight end, and Gary Barnidge is my number 5 tight end. I think both of them are very, very close to one another. Would not be surprised if either of them outscored them. You never know. You never know. I guess on my rankings, I'm going with Bennett, so that's the guy I'll say. But I like both of them this week. T.Y. Hilton or Mike Evans? Evans. Hilton's going to have a tough matchup with Josh Norman, and he is arguably the best cornerback in the league right now. So I'm definitely not liking T.Y. Hilton this week. Antonio Brown or Chris Ivory? We're going to go with, I'm going to go with Antonio Brown. Big Ben's back. Especially if it's a PPR, you go with Antonio Brown. In a standard, I think you could make the case for Ivory, but I'm still probably going to go Brown. I have A.J. Green, Demaryius Thomas, and Hopkins. Who should I start at the wide receiver 2 spot? How do you have that good of wide receivers and for flex? That's just ridiculous. So you only start one of them, or what? I guess... I don't know. I don't understand your question here. My number 2 wide receiver in the league this week is DeAndre Hopkins, though, so he's in. And then between AJ Green and Demaryius Thomas, I've got AJ Green ranked higher. So I guess you sit Demaryius Thomas, but that's not saying that. I mean, I have Demaryius Thomas as a wide receiver 1 this week, so I'm not saying Demaryius Thomas is not good. So don't get that wrong. And for flex, should I play Lacy or Forte? Forte definitely. Yeah, definitely Forte. Diggs or Travis Benjamin for flex? Really, really close on both of them, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge Travis Benjamin supporter on most weeks, but and especially against Patrick Peterson, it's a tough matchup for anybody. But I'm going to go Stephon Diggs, I think. Stephon Diggs or James Jones or John Brown. Man, gosh, let me see where I've got James Jones. Yeah, I've got him 22nd and Stephon Diggs at 19th. It's such a toss-up between those two, in my opinion. John Brown, we're sitting because of the health concerns, and both these other guys that you have are good options. So, I mean, if John Brown was 100% healthy, he would be my guy this week, but he's not, so then we're going to bench him, and we're going to, I guess, let's go with Diggs. Let's go with Diggs. That's who I have in the rankings. I got Devonta and Gurley. Good, okay. AJ Green or Brandon Marshall. Both of them, again, really, really good players. I have them ranked back-to-back, 6th, 7th. I am going to go with Brandon Marshall. Oakland's pass defense is not spectacular. AJ Green, both these guys, again, I have them ranked 6th and 7th. So, I mean, you're asking me between 2 elite players. It's really hard for me to answer that question because, again, I think both of them hypothetically could be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy this week. But I'm going to go with Brandon Marshall. Chris Johnson going to have a day? I hope so. I think Chris Johnson's going to have a nice day today. Yeah, they're pretty bad. The Browns' run defense is pretty darn bad, and Chris Johnson's been rolling, man. Dez Bryant or Amari Cooper? Man, I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. Healthy, he's healthy, and it's a tough matchup, but, Dez might be against Richard Sherman, too, so that's just not a good situation. Marvin Jones, Kendall Wright, or Eddie Lacy? Man. Let me look at the rankings real quick here to give you a good idea of where I've got them ranked. I got Marvin Jones at 48th. I've got Lacy at 29th. So I'm assuming that's who it's going to be. Yeah, and Kendall Wright at 66th. In most situations, I'm going to go with the running back over the wide receivers. I don't love Eddie Lacy this week, but of these 3 guys, I'd probably go with him. I don't answer defensive questions, but just as a standard, I'm playing Seattle's D against anybody pretty much, especially against a Matt Castle-led offense. And then the reason I don't answer defensive questions is because they're just such a crapshoot, man. They really are. You shouldn't own two defenses. You should just be playing matchups no matter what with defenses on a week-to-week basis, in my personal opinion. Cam or Andy Dalton? Good question. I do have Andy Dalton ranked higher this week at 4th and Cam Newton at 6th, so we're going to go Andy Dalton. Phillip Rivers or Andrew Luck? I'm definitely going with Phillip Rivers this week. He's my number 1 quarterback. Andrew Luck all the way down at number 12. Still a QB1 for Andrew Luck, so don't get me wrong. I still think he could have a nice day, but I definitely like Phillip Rivers more. Martavis Bryant, Darren McFadden, or Latavius Murray? McFadden, Bryant, and then Murray out of that group. Jeremy Hill or Gio Bernard? Another good question. Standard scoring, Hill and Gio Bernard in a PPR. Same as it's pretty much always going to be, man. Stephon Diggs or Brandon Marshall? Definitely Marshall. Mark Ingram. Okay, you got Ingram and Martavis Bryant for Antonio Brown and Gore. You know what? Why don't you, because you're not going to be able to do this trade before the games happen anyway, hit me up on Twitter after today, later this afternoon, tonight, something like that, and I'll try and think about this one a little bit more. I'll try and think about the trade stuff. Right now, I just want to do some start sits if we can. So, leg kicks, hit me up on Twitter at ClickWithTV. Start 2 in a PPR. T.Y. Hilton, Moncrief, Jonathan Stewart, McFadden. Probably going to go McFadden, Moncrief out of that group. Larry Fitzgerald or Steve Smith Sr. Fitzgerald? Is it worth dropping Antonio Brown and Marvin Jones for Diggs and Jeffrey? What? No, we don't. What? Dropping? I'm assuming you're saying trading, not dropping. But no, we don't do that trade. Should I drop Deshaun Jackson for Jordan Reed? Totally depends on if you need a tight end more than you need a wide receiver. I think Jordan Reed's a tight end one when he's healthy, so possibly. Martavis Bryant or Chris Johnson at flex? Chris Johnson. CJ2K or Jonathan Stewart? CJ2K. Should I start CV Johnson in the flex? Again, totally depends on the rest of your lineup. You got to let me know who you have as other options so that I can answer that for you. CJ2K or Michael Crabtree? CJ2K. 3 in a row for CJ2K. So that should tell you I'm pretty high on him this week. Dante Moncrief or Eric Decker? Another good question. I think both these guys could have a nice day. Both of them are normally the wide receiver 2 in their offense, but I think both of them are very, very good options this week. I actually have Moncrief ranked ahead of T.Y. Hilton by 7 spots this week, if that helps you out, because I do think that Josh Norman is that damn good, and it sounds like Josh Norman is going to be just following T.Y. Hilton around the field, which is not a good situation for that offense. So I've got Moncrief ranked ahead of T.Y. Hilton, but I still have Decker 1 spot ahead of Moncrief this week. So I guess we're going to go Decker over Moncrief. But again, I have him ranked back-to-back 17th, 18th, that wide receiver. Is Ivory going to do good? I hope so. I think Ivory has a good chance to do well today. Where do I have him ranked today? I have him ranked 8th against Oakland. Very, very good matchup for Chris Ivory. He is a little bit banged up, which is always a little bit of a concern. But, yeah, it's just, you know, I got to go with Ivory. I think is probably going to have a good game like he has been. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. Can I buy Madden 16 on the American Amazon and play it on my UK? I have no fucking idea, man. I don't know why you would ask that now, but you're gonna get blocked for that. Let's see here. And not because he asked that question, but because he followed it up by being an asshole. Let's see here. Phillip Rivers or Peyton? I mean, that's an easy one. You sit Peyton. I mean, I don't even think I have Peyton ranked in like the top 15. Yeah, I've got him ranked 16th, oddly enough. Phillip Rivers ranked number 1. So yeah, Rivers easily this week. Jimmy Graham or Antonio Gates? We're going to go Jimmy Graham still. We just don't know how healthy Gates is. So I'm probably going to go with Jimmy Graham above Gates. I don't hate Gates by any means, but yeah. See here. McFadden, Hill, or Gore? McFadden. We're going to go McFadden out of that group. Although I do like Gore this week too. I think McFadden could have a decent day today in terms of volume against Seattle. So, yeah. Stephon Diggs, Crabtree, or Moncrief for your final wide receiver spot. All these guys, I'm assuming I have ranked really close to one another. Yeah, I do. 18th, 19th, 23rd. So I have Moncrief ranked the highest. That's probably who I'm going to go with. I mentioned it before with Moncrief being the guy that I have ranked highest out of the Indy passing game this week. So he's my guy. Big Ben or Russell Wilson? Let's go with Big Ben. He's back. He's healthy. Let's go with Big Ben. Doug Martin or Carlos Hyde? Well, Hyde's not playing, so Doug Martin. And Martin's got a good matchup as well. And also, Carlos Hyde might not be back for a while, if at all, this season. So pay attention to that. Go out and get Reggie Bush if you had Carlos Hyde and you need that running back situation. Who do I sit? Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown, or OBJ? Oh, God, how are you in that situation where you have to sit one of those guys? It's not Keenan Allen. It's not Antonio Brown, so I guess it's got to be OBJ. But, I mean, I think OBJ's got the potential to be the number one wide receiver this week, so I don't love sitting him by any means. But you just have three great options. Jimmy Graham or Gates. I already mentioned that one. Okay. Mark Ingram or Doug Martin. I've got Ingram ranked higher this week, I believe. Yes, I do. Ingram at number 6. So, yeah, we're going to go with Ingram. Breeze or Dalton? Dalton this week. But I do like Breeze's matchup against the Giants. I think he could have a nice game as well. Is it worth trading Russell Wilson? I have Brady and Palmer, and I don't have a top 10 wide receiver. I mean, yeah, you should not be rostering 3 quarterbacks, especially not 3 quarterbacks of that value. I would say you should probably trade not only Russell Wilson, but also Carson Palmer. So if you can get something for each of those guys, I would do it. Gio Bernard or Eric Decker at the flex? Good question. I think both these guys could be pretty good. I've got Gio Bernard ranked slightly higher at 28th and Decker ranked 33rd, so they're really close. But yeah, we're going to go with Gio Bernard. If it's a full PPR league, you could go Decker, I think. But yeah. What do I think about Jonathan Stewart this week? I'm never super high on Jonathan Stewart. I think I almost always rank him lower than the average person does in terms of like the expert rankings when you look at him. But I've still got him ranked 17th against Indy, and I think he could have a good game. Let's see here. Brandon Cooks, McFadden, or Alfred Blue? Definitely McFadden. Full PPR, Keenan Allen, Dez, Demaryius Thomas, Evans, or Steve Smith, pick one. It's going to be Keenan. I'm assuming Allen is Keenan Allen, so yeah, Keenan Allen. But how do you have that many good players? Like, you got to be kidding me. Or are you in like a 2-team league? Gurley, Freeman. I'm not, dude, like what? How do you have all these elite players? You can't be coming at me with these like 2-team leagues, man. But Todd Gurley and Freeman, I guess, because I have them ranked 1 and 2 at running back this week. I got 5 minutes before the game start, guys. So, and then I got to leave too. So, Dez or Terrence Williams? Now that's a good question because both of them could have, some impact today. I guess I'm gonna go with Dez. Talent's just there, man. Terrence Williams hasn't done much even when being the number 1 wide receiver there, so I don't expect him to do a whole lot once Dez is there either. Standard scoring: Martavis Bryant, John Brown, Frank Gore, or Stephon Diggs. Let's go with, man. It's going to be between Bryant and Gore. And I'm not sure which I want to go with. I like both of them a lot this week. I think I'm going to go with Martavis Bryant, though. I think the upside's there for him to have a really big game. Brady or Dalton? Well, Brady already played. So, yeah. But I do like Dalton though. Graham or Gates? Yeah, we're gonna go with Graham still. Latavius Murray or C.J. Anderson? Latavius Murray, just because we know he's gonna get the majority of the carries. My favorite football team is the Cowboys. Lays kicks. Melvin Gordon or Andre Ellington? We're gonna go with Gordon. I think he's more likely to get more touches. Latavius, you already answered that one. It's an 8-team league and you have that many good players. Come on now, son. Andy Dalton or Russell Wilson? Andy Dalton this week for sure. Woodhead or Lacey? Woodhead, especially in a PPR. Brandon Cooks, McFadden, or Blue? You already asked this one, I know, Damon. You said you're asking it again. We're going with McFadden this week. Keenan Allen or Randall Cobb? Keenan Allen, both of them good options, though I think Cobb is getting some hate right now, and I think he might be a really good buy low option for fantasy, especially if he has another weak game against the Broncos. This is a tough matchup for anybody, so if he has another low-end game and you don't own Cobb currently, that's going to be, 3 games in a row where he's had low point totals, so I would go out there and acquire Randall Cobb. Normally, I don't like to recommend getting guys that have been really bad, but Randall Cobb's still getting targeted, and he's still the number 1 wide receiver in arguably the best offense in football, so I love Randall Cobb going forward, and especially for your playoff run if you can get him for something cheap. Sorry if you guys hear a vacuum in the background. Apparently my wife couldn't wait 4 fucking minutes to, no, I'm just, I'm just trolling her. But anyways, no, she is vacuuming though, I don't know why. Do you think I should start Antonio Brown or James Jones? We're going to go with Antonio Brown. Big Ben is back, so Antonio Brown's back to being an elite wide receiver 1, in my opinion. I mean, arguably the number 1 fantasy wide receiver for this week. He's elite. And I do like James Jones this week, though, too. Martavis Bryant or Emmanuel Sanders? And I know, guys, we're getting really close to kickoff time. I have them ranked back-to-back. I've got Martavis Bryant ranked higher. If you're in a PPR league, a full PPR league, I would go with Emmanuel Sanders. If you're in a standard scoring league, I would go with Martavis Bryant. Let me post the rankings for you guys real quickly in case I don't get to your questions. You can go on here and check out where I've got guys ranked, because that's mostly where I'm going to answer them for you. But I'm going to post the link to my rankings here, and you guys can actually look at the rankings for yourselves if you need to, in case I don't get to your question. Let's see here. Luck or Rivers? I think I already answered this one, but we're going with Rivers this week. Newton or Russell? Definitely Cam Newton this week. Eifert or Olsen? I have them ranked number 1 and number 2 at tight end, so they're both very, very good in my opinion. I've got Eifert ranked slightly higher, but again, they're ranked 1 and 2, so it's negligible. Jimmy Graham or Gary Barnidge? I think I've already answered this one, but I'm going with Gary Barnidge. You're very welcome, Damon. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, man. I'm glad you used to like my articles on Bleacher Report. I still write for fftoday.com, Fantasy Football Today, so head on over there and check out their stuff if you're interested in reading more of my content. And then as far as like MMA stuff, I might get back into MMA writing here in the next couple of months. We'll see. I've got so much going on in my life. I'm extremely busy with being a dad and that kind of thing, so it makes it very tough for me to actually go out to MMA events. But I used to love doing it. But we'll see, man. I might go back to doing more. Let's see here. Mike Evans or Alshon Jeffrey? Both of them, again, ranked very, very high for me this week. I've got Evans ranked 9th and Jeffrey ranked 10th. Again, very, very close to one another. I am going to go with Mike Evans, though. All right, let's see here. Antonio Brown or Emmanuel Sanders? Antonio Brown. Big Ben or Matt Ryan? Oh, man, Big Ben, I guess. I like both of them, but Big Ben. Charles Sims or David Johnson? Charles Sims, because of the PPR. Without Vincent Jackson out there, Sims might be out there playing wide receiver for them. Who fucking knows at this point? Amari Cooper or T.Y. Hilton? Both of them terrible matchups this week. Both of them have very good cornerbacks shadowing them. But I'm going to go with, gosh. I want to say Cooper, but I'm going to go with Hilton. They're ranked back-to-back for me. Luck or Rivers? Again, Rivers. I'm not going to answer that again. Titans D or Rams D, blah, blah, blah. Rams D, I guess. What about OBJ? Do I go with him or James Jones? Definitely OBJ. Emmanuel Sanders or Justin Forsett? Gosh, both of them are so good this week. I'm going to go with Forsett, though. Justin Forsett. Doug Martin, Ronnie Hillman. This is going to be the last one of the day, guys, and then we'll get into the games. Good luck, everybody. Doug Martin or Ronnie Hillman? We're going with Doug Martin. So thank you guys so much for coming by the stream today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll try and do it again next weekend as well. Again, if you have any other additional questions, trade questions, anything like that you guys want me to go over, I will do that for you on Twitter. So thank you so much. Follow me on Twitter at ClickwoodTV. Send me a tweet if you guys have any questions on anything. I'd be glad to answer them for you. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. Have a good day. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.